What's up, my meatballs? It's Aaronitmar. Today I wanted to have sort of another discussion video regarding Masahiro Sakurai and a lot of the information that's come out about the development process for both Smash 4, the main game, as well as the DLC that has been released. And a lot of this information has come from, I believe he did a Famitsu article, or at least a Famitsu interview, in which he discussed this, but he also just released 2 books regarding the development and such of Smash 4. I'm not sure what the difference between the 2 books is entirely. I'm going to take a shot in the dark and say one of them is about development of the games and one is about playing the games. I think I've read something about that somewhere, but again, I don't speak Japanese, I don't read Japanese, so I don't know exactly what the content is. I just sort of have to rely on other sources to translate it so then I can read what it says. So, in this video we're going to be discussing Sakurai's pitch to Nintendo regarding Smash 4, and then the cut content that was originally going to be in the game, but for one reason or another ended up not being in the game. And that's going to bring some pretty interesting stuff to light. But before we begin, I'm going to just sort of summarize the pitch to Nintendo he had about Smash 4. It's really just going to hit the primary key points that I found the most interesting. There's obviously more, so you guys can go ahead and search that for yourself. A simple Sakurai pitch to Nintendo Smash 4 Google search will get you right there. And without further ado, now let's begin. So Sakurai originally, from the very beginning, wanted Smash to be on both systems because I guess he saw that both systems had something to offer for the game. But his biggest issues were with the 3DS because 3DS doesn't have the same processing power as a home console, the same memory as a home console, or the screen size that a home console can provide with a big HD TV. So he wanted to make sure that with the 3DS version, which was the technically inferior version, that it wouldn't harbor the Wii U version, because I guess in his mind he figured that the console version of Smash was always going to be the primary version of Smash, and so he wanted to make sure that anything that could be done on the Wii U could be done on the 3DS, or I guess vice versa, whatever could be done on the 3DS could be done on the Wii U. But basically, you know, that's why we don't have Ice Climbers, because the 3DS wasn't powerful enough to control the Ice Climbers, control 2 characters at once, and in particular control 8 characters at once when you had a 4-player local battle going on, for example. So that's the reason we don't have them in the Wii U version, because the 3DS version couldn't handle it. And he describes it as not wanting the Wii U version to be a downgrade. And I guess that's sort of a trade-off, because obviously we got a fantastic game in the Wii U version, and the 3DS version limited it in some ways, such as not being able to have 8-player Smash on the 3DS, and of course Ice Climbers, things like that. But overall, I think that this compromise really worked well with the development of both systems, because both games are excellent. You know, the Wii U version is great for competition or just hanging out with your friends, and the 3DS version is great on the go, because if someone else has Smash, we can just play right there and, you know, have a great time. So this was definitely a good call, in my opinion, to develop on both systems, even though that those issues were known from the very beginning. The second thing is that he wanted to move away from the realism that Brawl had and more towards the look of other Nintendo games, and this is something I completely agree with. Gameplay aside, everything about Brawl that you might not have liked, I hated how it looked. It just looked way too, like, it looked like it was trying to take itself way too seriously, and that someone took like a gray film and put it over the TV screen so that everything just looked sort of washed out and dark and just not very good, you know. I guess some of the things were cool, like maybe the jean texture on Mario's overalls were neat, but I mean, that doesn't really signify Nintendo in my mind. Nintendo's always been bright and vivid, and, you know, it pops when you look at it. And Brawl was just sort of like, oh, it looks like everyone ran in the dirt for 10 minutes before they started the fight. So I definitely agree with the move here, and I really don't like how Brawl has held up and looked since its release way back in like 2008 or 2006 or whatever year it was released. So I definitely agree with that point that he made. Next up, he pitched Mii Fighters from the very beginning. I read somewhere that Mii Fighters were desirable for Brawl, like they wanted to put that in the game, but I think either hardware limitations or simply time constraints kept them from doing that. But that is a very cool point that he, you know, knew from the get-go, we have to include Mii Fighters this time. We just have to. And that's what makes sense. I mean, every other game has Mii Fighters, Wii Sports, Mario Kart, so it just really made sense that Smash finally have Mii Fighters. Then he goes on to discuss in really high detail custom moves and equipment and Smash Run and how all of those work together. So it really seems to me that he had this sort of vision for Smash Run and how custom moves and equipment would work, and really we got very, very close, if not exactly what he envisioned from day one, from the pitch. Obviously some things are going to be tweaked here and there, but really it's really impressive how, looking at the pitch and then looking at the game that we got, how much of it is really the same. Like even names and even how stats work, and you know, time limits. Like he had a 5-minute time limit from the beginning for Smash Run, and that's what we ended up getting. So it's just awesome to see, you know, how into detail he went into the pitch, and didn't just walk into the boardroom and go, yeah, it's another Nintendo fighter, alright, give me some money. Like, I think that's really, really cool. A few more interesting bits. 8-player Smash has been desired since Super Smash Bros. Melee. Back in like 2003, he wanted that to happen. I don't even know how that would happen on the GameCube, which is probably why it didn't. But he knew from the beginning he wanted that. He even knew it in Brawl that he wanted that, which was far more likely. So he knew this time that for sure we were going to have 8-player Smash, and we did. And I think that's a really, really fun like party mode. So I'm really glad that that was actually included this time and not just, you know, a sort of idea. Next, he talked about Omega stages and how For Glory and For Fun would work online. And I think that's really cool too, because a lot of people, when Omega stages came out, myself included, to my fault, thought that it was a very late addition and that it was appeased, or it was created to appease the competitive community because we felt so neglected for so long. But it really looks like this was something that he himself wanted to do, or at least someone on the team wanted to do. So that's very interesting, because it sort of silences some rumors that have kind of been going around since the game's release. And finally, talked about 2 players on one Wii U for online mode, which of course we do see in Team Smash on both For Glory and For Fun. So that's pretty cool that he thought about adding that from the beginning as well. A lot of these were like, wow, they didn't just think of that halfway through the development and add it. These were like planned features that he wanted. So it's a really nice insight into a developer's mind, and particularly into Sakurai's mind. Now moving on to a bit of the more interesting cut content. There's only a few of these, so I'm just going to sort of rattle them off real quick. First up is that Rock Pikmin were actually in development to add to Olimar and Alf's arsenal. They didn't really cite a reason why Rock Pikmin were scrapped, but a lot of times they don't do that. They'll just say, yeah, we came up with this idea and it didn't, you know, it didn't flourish out, or it didn't, you know, we couldn't get it to work or anything. So we ended up just scrapping it. And so I guess they just scrapped the idea. And basically it would have been like a Purple Pikmin, how the Purple Pikmin is very, very strong, but can't go very far. So I think that's how the Rock Pikmin would have worked. It would have been even more powerful than the Purple Pikmin, but would have gone even less distance than the Purple Pikmin. So that's a pretty interesting thing that would have been cool if it was in the game, but unfortunately we don't have that. Next up is that co-op Smash Run was attempted, but ultimately was not feasible on the hardware. So sort of similar to how the Ice Climbers wouldn't be able to work on the 3DS. They weren't able to have 2 people on the same map in completely different locations in a you know, cohesive way. The 3DS just couldn't handle that much on its system at once. So I guess that means that like I could play with my friend and we could tag team Smash Run together. So like I could be in the bottom left of the map and he could be in the top right, and we'd be working together, pooling together our equipment that we collect, things like that. And I guess the 3DS just couldn't handle that, because obviously we don't have that in the game. Next up, probably the most interesting one, is that every special move was initially planned to have 4 custom moves instead of 3. And in, I guess, his book, Sakurai cites that Mario was going to have 4 neutral fireballs, 4 neutral fireball customs. The default move that obviously just bounces normal. I guess an exploding fireball, or just a much bigger fireball. The very quick straight line fireball, and then what wasn't in the game, a double fireball where he launched 2 at once. And he was planning for every character, every 4 moves, to basically have 4 customs instead of 3. And I guess that would have been cool, but I suspect we'd see a lot more win boxes, so kind of happy about that, but also kind of intrigued on what he would have added for every character. So sometimes I kind of wish that we had another, you know, we had 4. Like, you know, sometimes it would be cool to see. Wouldn't be fun competitively, but it would be pretty cool to see anyway. Unique game modes were also considered for 8-player Smash, kind of taking inspiration from the multiplayer from Kid Icarus Uprising, in which each team either gets a certain amount of equipment or certain items, or has a certain objective for the for the fight, and that would work in 2 teams of 4 for 8-player Smash, or 4 teams of 2 in case that was also a feature, because that sort of adds up smaller but more teams. But ultimately that wasn't really added. Maybe we'll see that as a game mode DLC type deal. That would be actually really, really cool and sort of add more of an objective to 8-player Smash than just let me attack everyone I see everywhere at all times forever. And finally, Mii Fighter moves were initially unlockable just like the rest of the cast, but ended up being defaults, I guess because they wanted to give some characters the default moves, or all their custom moves I should say, unlocked from the beginning, like Palutena and then the Mii Fighters. And ultimately I think this is the right call because, oh my gosh, I don't want to unlock 9 more, or I guess not 9, nowhere near 9. Oh my gosh, nowhere near 9. Alright, we're going to do this math right now. Alright, 2 extra unlockables times 4 moves is 8 times 3 is 24. Boom! 24 moves you'd have to have unlocked. Oh my gosh. I would have died. I still don't see why those are unlockables. He knew from the beginning that he wanted them to be unlockables. That's actually in his book. And from the beginning, why can't you just give it to us? Why do we have to unlock them? I just don't want them. So I'm really glad he gave the Mii Fighters at least all of their custom moves from the start. Wish he did that with the rest of the cast, but beggars can't be choosers, I guess. Or choosers can't be choosers. Or, I don't know. But that's going to be it for this episode, or for this discussion video regarding the cut content and the initial pitch for Smash 4. If you guys enjoyed this video, do not forget to hit that like button. And as always, subscribe so that you can see more Super Smash Bros. Content. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you all back here for more videos. Have a good one.